So everybody, wanted to do a quick little video, kind of follow up and talk about my system and also talk about something that I think everybody needs to hear. Although I don't know how many people will watch the video, so maybe nobody will hear it. But in hi-fi, simpler is better, and better isn't always better. More expensive isn't always better. When I bought the Meze 109s, I was at Hi-Fi Buys in Atlanta, Georgia, a fantastic store. I did knock it in the past because I had a bad experience, but a couple times I went back since. It's been fantastic, phenomenal. They treat me great. It's a great place to go. You can just go in there and listen to stuff. They don't really care. I got the impression they don't care, although obviously that's how they make their money, so they do want you to buy something. But anyway, while I was there getting the Mezes, the guy had to go find them in the back. They were in the storeroom or something. And he was like, another guy was like, hey, well, why don't we check out, we want to check out a system we set up recently? And I was like, sure. And he takes me into a back room. And by the way, it's about a 12 by 15 space, not a very large room. It is acoustically treated. It's got panels. It looks like it had bass traps in the back, kind of those column looking things. And anyway, it's a Vandersteen system. So what it is it's a pair of Kinto carbon speakers which have a powered sub, and then you combine it with the HPA2, I think is what it's called, the high pass amplifier, also from Vandersteen, and that powers the mid-range and the tweeters, basically, is what happens. And these were fed by a DCS Luna something streamer, a DCS streamer, whichever one. I was the Luna or maybe the Bartok, I can't remember. And then that was running into an Audio Research Reference 6 preamp, and you obviously for volume. And then of course we had basically all AudioQuest. Hi-Fi Buys is a big AudioQuest dealer, so they had it all hooked up with all mythical, the kind of the top of the line AudioQuest. And I asked the guy, I was like, well, be honest with me, what's this system run? And the speakers are 45,000, 47,000. The amplifiers are 20 grand. The preamp, the Audio Research, I think that's like $10,000 or $15,000. Of course, the DCS streamer, again, I can't remember the model, but that one, was $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. With the cabling and everything, I want to say he told me it was like 130 or 140 grand for everything. And anyway, this modest system I've got here actually brings me greater pleasure and joy than that Vandersteen system did. Now, I'm not saying that the Vandersteen system isn't any good. I'm not saying it wasn't good, and I'm also not knocking high-end audio. I'm not saying that a $600 system will beat a $140,000 system. More specifically, what I'm saying is that you should find something that sounds good to you. I started this hobby with an Cambridge Audio Topaz AM10 integrated amplifier. That was my first hi-fi amp, my first real one. And, it brought me such pleasure and such joy. And actually, sometimes I've actually found myself looking on eBay for them to see if I can find a used one, because I enjoyed it so much. It had kind of this lighter weight tone to it, much like the Micromega here. But because of that, it had a great tonality in the mid-range. It also had great speed and finesse in the top end as well, while being smooth up there also, not being overly soupy or syrupy. And that's what I love about this Micromega. That's what I loved about the Cambridge Audio. And I find myself gravitating towards components that kind of have that sound, kind of have this sort of rich mid-range, not so heavy on the bass. I'm not a big bass guy, but also kind of have a smooth, fast attack, good prat. And that's what I find I enjoy. And with those type of components and that type of sound signature, you really don't need a lot of money. You can actually get great products like the Micromega. The new Cambridge Audio AXA35 is a fantastic amplifier. They did change the sound signature from the Topaz, unfortunately. They made it more of a vintage sound, more of a syrupy sound, I personally believe. But it's still a good amp. It still has one of the best built-in phono stages under $500. I guarantee it. But anyway, back to it. Get something you enjoy. Don't worry about getting better and better and better and better, because sometimes better, I've spent a lot of money in this hobby. Sometimes better, trust me, isn't better. You'll get fancy things and come to find out, well, I don't really like the sound of that. Or maybe it's too analytical, or it's too cold sounding. Where's the warmth? Where's the soul in the music? You know, my $100 DAC had that, but now I got this $10,000 DAC and it don't have that at all. So, you know, be careful with what you buy. Make sure you get something that makes you happy.